It's a Thursday night on May 16th of 2019. I've just come back from doing martial arts training that day, going to school, and I'm sort of just relaxing in my room, watching a bit of YouTube as I would typically do afterwards. Now, for the last couple of weeks to maybe even months leading up to this point, I'd had some sort of blurred vision or dizzy spells that usually came after, for example, looking up from a screen. Now, the good thing was these would only typically last for about a couple seconds to maybe up to a minute, so I wasn't really too concerned about what was going on. Now, looking back on it, I can definitely say that over this short time period, the dizzy spells got worse and worse to the point that I wouldn't know the outlining of my house, or I'd have to sort of crawl around for a little while instead of walk. Now, at the time back then, I wasn't really the best at advocating for myself, still working on it, but I don't think I was really even telling my family members about what was really going on, because obviously, since I'd come back from a night of karate that night, it wasn't really affecting my life too much besides those short periods of time up to that point. But this night, when all seemed fine, nothing out of the ordinary, I look up from my screen again, and the room in front of me went really fucking blurry, way blurrier than it ever had been before. After that instant, my memory sort of flipped off, but from what my parents have told me, I came downstairs really confused, asking where the bathroom was. By the way, I've lived in this house my whole life, and at this point they thought I was just joking. But once I apparently crawled over to the toilet in the bathroom and started vomiting, that's when the alarm bells started going off in my parents' minds. From what I've been told, my mom comes in, she sees me, and when I'm finally done vomiting, I sort of sit my back up against the bathroom wall a little bit. My head is leaned up against it too. And that's when my eyes start to go upwards a little bit. And in an instant, they disappear. I start shaking uncontrollably, and my mom rushes over to hold my head so I don't bang it against like the wall or the washing machine, for example. My mom shouts to the living room where my dad still is to go and call 911, and I continue to seize for about a minute or so after that point. I pretty much just completely conked out after that until the EMTs arrived. And that's when I can sort of remember a split second of seeing the ceiling of my kitchen hallway as I'm being taken away on the stretcher from my house. Next thing you know, I wake up, my dad and my mom are sitting around me whilst I'm in a hospital bed. I feel like I've almost just woken up from like a dreamlike state, and I ask them, what the fuck happened? They tell me everything that went on, and I'm just thinking to myself, holy fucking shit. Shortly after, I think like some nurses might have came in. They put me onto another stretcher, and I was put in the back of another ambulance, which transported me to a bigger hospital about 20 or so minutes away. So that was my first conscious time riding in the back of an ambulance, which, as weird as it may sound, I always wanted to experience at least once in my lifetime. As soon as I get there, it's pretty late at this point, about 1, 2 in the morning. And the nurses are sort of doing what they need to do, standing me up, taking measurements, and then I'm transported into a room on that floor for the night. Now at this point, everything's going all right. It's just me, mom, and dad in this room where we've got a TV, we're watching Family Guy, just sort of trying to get our minds off what has transpired earlier this night. But when it gets to about 2:30 to 3 in the morning, that's when that feeling starts to come back again. Once again, I can't remember what happens. My memory sort of flipped off at that point, but from what I've been told, I told my parents that it's happening again. And that's when I seized for the second time that night. Mind you, I never had any sort of seizure or fainting problems before all this. So to say the least, this was a pretty hectic night for myself and my entire family for all the wrong reasons. The next morning, I wake up in a different hospital room a few floors up. My grandparents are there, my parents are there, both my dad and my mom, I think. And they sort of just tell me what happened again last night. Now when I hear I had a second seizure after having my first one only a few hours earlier, I'm shocked and honestly pretty worried. At this point, I'm pretty much completely just stuck in bed. If I try to get up, I end up vomiting. So I'm being given a lot of fluids like soda and that sort of thing to get myself sort of back in check, if you will. Nothing too notable about that day. Was wheeled around in a wheelchair through the hospital to get to where I needed to be to have my MRI scans taken. I think I got my braces removed that day because the MRI machinery wasn't gonna work if I had the braces in, but that's about it. I guess the nice parts about that day was sort of taking my first shower in a little bit and getting to see the night lights that the hospital would shine. It was something to look forward to, and it gave me some calm in the midst of the whole situation. Right, so I think I sort of had some confusion between the first night waking up, or the first day waking up there, and the day I got discharged. So the second day, I think throughout the day, I started to walk a little easier. I was able to sort of walk around the room a little bit. And then the next day that I woke up there, I was able to sort of walk around the hospital and that sort of thing because the fluids really helped me. At this point, I'm really sort of back to myself again. I'm goofing around in the hallways with this big like IV pole attached to me, going in and out, and I'm just trying to have a good time after this whole sort of situation unfolded. When I get back home, life proceeds somewhat as normal. When I go back to school, they say I have to have someone come in the bathroom with me, which I never did. And during school photos the next year, I remember they put me behind a wall to sort of get away from the flashing light because they thought I had epilepsy. So a little different, but I was just grateful to be back. And since then, I haven't had a seizure, knock on wood. And I actually did have one occurrence that happened sort of shortly after, where I had those feelings sort of come back again, but luckily it didn't result in anything. It faded away. I've had some fainting spells now and again, mostly just from getting up too quickly from sitting down, but that's about it. I guess the main takeaway from this whole experience is that life is unpredictable and tomorrow's never guaranteed. And you should live every day with intention and clarity, knowing what's right and what's wrong for you. And you should take life's challenges with a grain of salt, knowing that even though it could be better, it could always be worse. I could have continued to have seizures to this day. We think I had those too because of a medication I was taking, and once I got off that medication, I stopped having them, but it could have been worse. I could have been diagnosed with epilepsy or something like that. My parents could have not been at the house that day. We could have not had the money scraped together to have an ambulance come take me. I could have suffered some medical complications, injuries, or as grim but as true as it is, potential death. In conclusion, guys, I'm grateful that this experience happened in the sense that it really opened my eyes up to how nothing is ever guaranteed. How sometimes things are going to happen that you don't see coming at all, and how important it is to have people in your life who genuinely care about you close to you. I hope this message helped you today, my friend. As always, keep putting in that work towards becoming at least 1% better each and every day, and I'll catch you in the next one. Stay grounded, my G.